So, in our last session, they want to explore this chasm that they had found in one of the caves they explored early on in the campaign. So originally, I didn't plan on there being a dungeon down here. I just had a chasm and some weird bug-like monsters came out of it whenever they were fighting some other things, trying to save some homes for some people. And they see these weird bug-like things come out of this big chasm in the middle of the cave. They're like, "Hey, we want to go down there and check it out." So I created a dungeon for it, and just want to give you guys a view on what I made and kind of explain the monsters that I had, the different rooms, and what was going on in each room. So when they come down here, the first thing they notice is that the cave starts to take this organic feel, and there's this huge wall of flesh they've got to cut down. So after they cut it down, they traverse the tunnels for a little bit. Eventually, they come across some more of these same bug creatures that they had seen from before. Now, this creature, it may look familiar to some of you. Those of you who play StarCraft, you may be able to figure this out immediately. But for those of you who don't know, this is called a baneling, and they're one of the creatures that you can use in StarCraft. So the way this creature works is whenever it's killed, these sacs on its back and on its sides, they explode, and they deal acid damage in a 10 feet radius all around them. So these monsters I've had a lot of fun with. The party has really enjoyed them. I think it's kind of funny and cool to see, when the big fighter leading the group all of a sudden backs away and he lets the more people with range take on these guys just because they don't want to get hit. Pretty cool and keeps the fighting, I think, dynamic. So they fight a few of these things in these tunnels here, and eventually they look down the hallway and they see this sitting at the other side, other end. When they try and sneak up, some of them make a little louder noise than others, and so they notice that this creature starts to look at them, but it doesn't seem to notice them. It cocks its head to one side, kind of looks left and right. Eventually, though, they make enough noise where it hears them and it lets out this loud scream. And what it does is it actually causes some more of that organic fleshy wall stuff to appear, and it closes off this way here. Without much hesitation, though, they decided that they weren't going to cut it down and traverse up this way. Instead, they were going to go and just take a right. Now, in this room, they see some more creatures, and they decided to do some survival checks to kind of see if they can get an idea of just what these things could do. And what they noticed is that on its neck they had like some kind of sack-like looking structure. And they noticed that all around its body it had some huge pus-like blisters all around it. So the way these creatures worked here is whenever they die, they also blow up too, but not acid damage. When they explode, all their juices gets on you and it causes these disgusting blisters to form all over your skin and gives you disadvantages to con saving throws and con checks. Now these creatures over here, the way these work is they're called froggles, and the way they work is they jump around from space to space, and whenever they attack, they actually shoot out their tongue, grab the player, and drag them 10 feet towards them. Not only do they do that, but they also cause them to make a Constitution saving throw, and if they fail, they're paralyzed for 1 minute. So these monsters comboed greatly with one another, keeping the party on their toes. Luckily, though, none of them got in range of the pustuloid's death burst to get disadvantage on this creature. But all in all, they did pretty well. They killed this guy pretty quickly and just kind of finished off the rest of these. Now you see I have written here peristalsis room. So this entire room, I kind of pictured it almost like a stomach in a way. How the fleshiness of the floor is kind of moving back and forth like a muscle, relaxing and contracting, trying to eat up whatever disgusting pus and gunk is on the floor beneath it. And so the way this works is whenever you step into this room here, it's considered difficult terrain. So the party was going to have to spend a lot of time really thinking careful about where they're going to move, just because their moves are already halved and these guys aren't affected by it. and they have this thing that can pull them away from each other. So the party really had to work together, and all in all, they did a pretty good job. So then I wanted to have some magic items in this cave mainly because some of the party members didn't want to come down here because they were like, hell no. But because they did, I figured I'd reward them. So what I did was they had this red flesh pit is what I called it. And at the bottom of it, they saw what looked like a short sword. And whenever they touched the liquid kind of all formed together, and a gibbering mouther spawned out of it. Now the party quickly, this thing was pretty much no match for them. The fighter would come in, get some good hits, and kind of back out. The ranger would sit back and shoot at him, and then the spellcaster would use gust of wind to push this guy against the wall, while the ranger and the other guys used their range attacks to quickly take this guy out. And then when they killed it, all the red stuff dissolved, and they found themselves a magical sword, which they don't know what does yet. They'll have to figure that out. Now this room, this room was a puzzle room, so I didn't want there to be just combat in here, just because it can get stale after so long. So in this room, what they found was a giant skeleton, completely wrapped up in chains, and the chains kind of went off in different directions. Though one link came and wrapped around this guy. One link came and wrapped around the south, west, and northern walls as well. Now, after some investigating, they found that this guy was dead and it looked like his rib cage was punctured. And then they noticed that this skeleton had one hand reached toward this guy, another hand reached towards this wall, and in its hand right here there was a small rusty knife. After further investigation, they carve out this organic wall here and reveal the rest of the chain. And they notice on the wall, right above where the chains linked into the wall, there's this series of numbers here. And underneath the bottom sets of numbers, there was a lot of carvings. It looked like the skeleton with the knife was carving something in the wall. And basically, what they had to figure out was the combination. It was basically a combination lock, and they needed to figure out which sets of numbers came next. I'll give you guys a few seconds to try and figure it out. Alright, so I'll try and explain this as best I can. So the way it works is each row is telling you what's on the row before it. So you see 1, 1, 1, because there's 1, 1, 2 ones, 1, 2, 1, 1. So then the following would be 1, 1, 1, 2, 2 ones. And when they figured that out, the chains unlocked and unlatched, and all of the chains led back to this small skeleton that was over here. So it looked, basically what happened was the belt, I kind of gave it away already. What happened was the chains formed this belt, and when one of the party members picked it up and attuned to it, they got this here. The belt of chains. And this is what it does. Basically, they figured it out right away because I'm a huge Spawn fan. They're like, oh, wait, this is like Spawn stuff, isn't it? And I said, yes. So basically, bonus action, get a free hit. You can use an action to wrap your chains around an enemy. And then once you do that, you can have them make a strength saving throw and tighten the chains around them and do some more damage that way. Now the sword, they haven't quite figured out what it does yet. I told Rollin, who had picked it up, that he wouldn't know until certain things have happened. So we'll see if they figure that out. And then lastly, they didn't stay in this room long, but this room has like a lot of blisters and stuff on it. And at the end, they had a roper that was hidden. It grabbed some of the characters and started to drag it across the room. This little guy, they didn't do much damage to it, but what it does is basically, whenever they cast spells, this thing immediately, no matter what the spell is targeted, this creature will the spell will be targeted to this creature, and it has advantage on all kind of spell saving throws and everything. And what I was gonna have happen was these little scourge creatures were gonna come out of this little blister thing one by one and start attaching themselves to the characters who had tentacles on them and would start draining their health. So it didn't take long for them to get their fair share of this place, and they decided to run out of here before they got too caught up in this fight. But what happened here, you see I have pustule room. Each time they moved over in this area where the blisters were more prominent, I would roll a d6, and on a 6, the blister would pop and would deal acid damage to them, just to give them that idea of that this room was kind of like a cancerous room with these tumor, blister, nasty, gross pus things everywhere. So all in all, I think they really enjoyed this encounter. They did not see this kind of dungeon coming, and honestly, neither did I. I kind of thought about this over a couple weeks, and I was kind of looking for more weird, creepy monsters, seeing like how could I have these bugs evolve, and that's kind of the idea that I used in designing this dungeon. So in case you guys are wondering how I came up with these monsters, like this bug monster here and these monsters here, there's actually a subreddit on Reddit called Monster of the Day or Monster a Day. I'll leave the link in the description of this video so you guys can check it out. There's like at least 100 or so monsters in this subreddit so far, and each one has great detail. It looks just like it comes out of the Monster Manual Handbook for 5th edition. They pull a lot of things from Magic the Gathering. You saw the other creature comes from StarCraft. But these are the ones that I have on my computer. I mean, there's just so many monsters, and they even have the Gill Man. I think they even have the Headless Horseman somewhere around here. Let me try and find them. Yeah, they even have the Headless Horseman. Really cool stuff, and like I said, it looks just like it came out of the Monster Manual. A lot of the Magic the Gathering stuff. The slivers, I've used the slivers on the previous session. The party really likes these. So the way these work, in case you guys don't know, is there's all different kinds, and they all feed off of each other. So when this guy's around, this one will crystallize, and he'll get the spitter gills. Really cool monsters to have against your party. They just kind of stack on each other. They even have the different lore about some of the monsters. It's the Magic the Gathering monster here. I'm not too familiar with Magic the Gathering, but I'm sure those of you who are into it, you probably recognize this creature. Fortunately, I don't. But yeah, just a lot of cool stuff to play around with and add to your campaign. And hey, stuff, I'm sure if you've got a player who likes to look at the Monster Manual a lot, well, just pull some of these out. He has no idea what these are or what they do. So it kind of, if you need a little bit of a breath of fresh air, definitely something you can find here. And even have some weird stuff like this Feldergriff. I don't think I'm ever going to use this in my campaign, but hey, maybe if I ever have the chance to, or ever have the need to put something like that in there, I'll have it. But just to give you guys a little bit of extra info in case you guys wanted to know where I got these bizarre monsters from. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions or would like to see some more of my ideas, I'll be sure to share them. Take care, guys, and have a great week.